Hello, beautiful people. Welcome. Welcome to PCOS Beyond 40 and my journey to gastric sleeve or VSG. My name is Scarlett. Let's see. I live in the DMV, Virginia, Northern Virginia, right now, Fredericksburg. And I'm from the Bronx originally, boogie down, 6 train and all that. But I am here today to talk about dealing with PCOS, going into your 40s, and now my journey to get the gastric sleeve surgery. Before I start, let me let you know, I've never done this before. This is my first time. So I'm going to ask you to take it easy on your girl. But why did I decide to do this? I decided to do this because throughout the years and most recently, I have watched and looked for stories of different women dealing with PCOS. And now most recently, I've watched so many amazing, brave stories of women who were on their way to get the gastric sleeve or have gotten it. But I didn't find very many of women who were both, who have dealt with PCOS and or getting or had weight loss surgery. I have found some amazing stories, and there's one incredibly brave and sweet young lady on here. Her name is Anita PCOS. So if you have a sec, go check her out. Her stories are so inspiring and so informational. I learned so much from her, but she inspired me to do this actually. I feel it's important to share your story because you never know who's listening. And let me tell you, this was not an easy decision to make. I didn't take it lightly. I have been contemplating for weeks whether I was going to do this for so many reasons. Putting your life and your story out there, it makes you very vulnerable. But I'm very proud of my journey. It hasn't been easy. I have made some bad decisions and I've made some good decisions when it comes to my body and my health and my lifestyle. But everything that I have done has put me where I am today. And if there's one thing I am, and if there's one thing we all are, those of us that are dealing with PCOS, is we're fighters, we're survivors. And I just felt it was important to share this because you never know who's listening. And if I just reach one person, if one person can look at me and say, damn, she's on to something, she's gone through it, she's here, still smiling, then I can. Having PCOS, and I know the havoc that it wreaks on your body and on your life. But it doesn't have to take control. PCOS does not command you. PCOS is not the boss of you. You're the boss of you. And it took me a long time to kind of come to terms with the fact that, it is going to be a lifelong struggle and it is going to be a lot of hard work. It's been a lot of hard work till now. I have struggled with PCOS since I was 16. That's when I was diagnosed, and like many women, I found out because I all of a sudden had to get rushed to the emergency room because of some incredibly horrible stomach pain, and turned out I had cysts. Good times, right? For those of you that deal with cysts, because not every woman with PCOS do deal with cysts. Fun, right? It is some of the most horrible pain that I have ever experienced. And quick disclaimer, this is going to get a bit TMI. Like, I might talk about some things that aren't very comfortable. I might disclose a little bit of too much information, but it's real talk. It's real. Like, this is what's happening to my body. It's what's happening to your body. So let's talk about it. And I plan to continue this. I am going to have my surgery in a couple weeks, and there's going to be a lot going on, and I'm open to sharing that. So we can have lots of conversations throughout the weeks. So if you're watching this, and if at any point you think of something, or you're like, you know what, let's talk more about that, just let me know. I'd love to hear from you, whoever is watching. Give me some feedback, please. Let me know how I'm doing. So I was diagnosed at 16, and nothing has changed since from 24 years ago. 24 years ago. 24 years ago, I was 16. And now that I did that math, I kind of died inside just a little. Just a little. But I was diagnosed, and they said, here's some birth control. Come back when you want to have a baby. And, you're 16. Your body is already going through some things that you're like, it's like, what's going on here? And then you throw some birth control in the mix. Whew. One big party. Not. So, I had to maneuver and figure out my way through that. And, back then, yeah, the internet was a thing, but it was nothing like it is today. You still had to dig for your information. Like, I was still going to libraries, going through the cards. For those of you that remember, going to the library and have to go through the little cards and go to an aisle and find the book. And if it was in the wrong place, you had to scour to find where it was. Yes, that's how old I am. And, that's how I did my research. And back then, there wasn't a lot of information. It was, you have PCOS, it's a hormonal disorder. You're never going to get rid of it. Here's some birth control, and that's it. So I will say, for the years following that, into my 20s and almost at 30, I never really paid attention to it. Like, yes, I still dealt with cysts. I still was on birth control. I went through so many different forms of birth control trying to find, just because my body had it almost became intolerant of birth control throughout the years. So like, I would be on one, and I would, it would be on it for maybe a year or 6 months to a year. And then, I'd start feeling all kinds of crazy, whether it was my skin acting up or, abnormal periods, which happens a lot with PCOS, so I would have to try another form of birth control. So that was, that's what I was dealing with at that time in my life. I was also a bit younger, and my body bounced back a bit more easy than it does now. But the cysts were always a thing. My weight, I have dealt with being heavy since I was a child. I can remember being 8 years old and, getting bullied in school because I was the big girl. All my life growing up, I was always the big girl. My weight was never not a thing. I have had doctors tell me all my life, just lose weight. You need to just lose weight. Yeah, just lose weight. Don't you love when they tell you that? Just lose weight and you'll be fine. It's like, if I could just lose weight, don't you think I would? No, I'm just going to sit here and eat bonbons all day. But it's been a roller coaster with my weight. I think that has been the biggest struggle of my entire life. And for those of you that struggle with your weight, I understand. I understand how lonely and isolating it could be, especially when you go through bouts of gaining weight. I've been there. I'm there most recently. You don't want to be around people. You don't want to go to gatherings because you're like, I've gained weight. What are they thinking? It's a struggle. It's a part of the struggle. I'm right there with you, girl. So, my 30s were up and down, but not my worst. Other than still dealing with, weight up and down. And then I got into my 30s, and that is when the fun started. I will say, I turned 30, and it was like the clock went off, and my body said, oh, now I'm gonna show you what's up. And my periods became extremely irregular, or they were super heavy, or they would decide, I'm not gonna come at all for 3 months, and I'm here freaking out. Then it got to the point where I couldn't be on birth control. Birth control now makes me crazy. I turn into a raving mad woman. I turn into someone that I can't even deal with myself. The mood, I turn into, it makes me so moody, and I'm cognizant of it. Like, I can actually feel how all over the place I feel, which is kind of wild. I don't even have the words to describe it. It's kind of like you go out your body and you see what you look like, and you see how crazy you look, and you're like, whoa, Scarlett, okay, no, you can't do this. So about 3 years ago, I became intolerant to birth control. And so the past like 2 or 3 years, it's just been trying to figure that out. I personally don't plan on having children, so not being able to really be on birth control has been scary. Even though it's questionable what my fertility is. And I'm sure some of you are saying, oh my God, I can't believe she's sharing this on the internet. But it's real life. It's real talk. And if I was in a room full of women, I would have no problem sharing this. So I'm going to tell you. And hopefully you learn something from me. I'll learn something from you. But that's what PCOS does. I know there are so many women out there who struggle with PCOS and fertility, and let me tell you, my heart goes out to you. I have heard some amazing stories that have just touched me so much, of the struggles that women with PCOS go to with, not being able to get pregnant and conceive, and the effects it has on your families and your loved ones and your partners. PCOS is a silent monster. It's a disease where you can't see it, you can't touch it. It's not cancer. It's not a quantifiable disease where you can touch it and see it. It's like people think you're crazy when you tell them some of the things that are going on. And I get that. I know how frustrating it is, because you're not crazy. Your body is going through these changes. But because nobody really sees it, it's hard for them to understand. And that's why, another reason why I'm here, because I know how isolating it could be. I know how alone you feel when you're going through all this, and it's like, who do I go to? Who can I talk to? Who is going to understand what I'm dealing with? Because nobody understands anyone's journey until they walk a mile in your shoes. Your journey is your journey, and it is not made more or less based on someone else's journey. But it's always comforting to have people of similar backgrounds and similar situations who it's like, yeah, you went through that. Yeah, your hair was falling out. Oh my God, what about the cystic acne? Those little hairs that grow in there that you're constantly plucking, and it's like, it makes you feel like a chia pet. Yeah, all of that. Yes, I know all of that. And earlier this year, I would say last year, that's where my weight got real. I was diagnosed as being pre-diabetic, and let me tell you, I freaked out. That's the scariest thing, is being told that you're pre-diabetic. That's the last thing that I ever want to deal with, is becoming diabetic. Just because I work in healthcare, I have been working in healthcare for 10 years, and there was a time where I worked with patients that were on dialysis and in kidney failure, and 90% of them had diabetes, and almost all of them, it was a precursor to them going into renal failure. And so I saw all the things that these patients, these amazing patients, these amazing people and their families went through, and that's where I went when they told me I was pre-diabetic. And let me tell you, throughout the years, I have done all the things, and I have found things that worked for me, and I have found things that didn't work for me. And using yourself as a guinea pig, it's frustrating, because there's so much that isn't going to work. But when you find that thing that makes you feel healthier and more vibrant and it works for you, it changes something just a little, whether you wake up one day and your skin is a little brighter, or you slept better, or your menstrual cycle is becoming a little more regular, or the cramps aren't as bad, or you've noticed, you know what, it's been a few months since I've felt that pain from a cyst. Use yourself as a guinea pig. Do the research. Ask questions. Don't be afraid. But do your research. I have taken so many different supplements, and I have found things along the way that have worked for me. Vitamin B complex works for me, vitamin C, vitamin D, inositol. These are things that when I don't take them, I feel a difference in my body, especially vitamin D. Vitamin D is one of those. I also suffer from extreme back pain. I have arthritis. It's degenerative, and it's been a bit progressive the past few years. My body just doesn't move the way it used to. I will say I've never been, I'm not one for the gym. It's never been my thing, never really been something I enjoyed, but I've always loved being active and being outside and going hiking and, running around and playing and just enjoying myself with friends. In nature has always been my thing. I love being in nature. I love nothing more than to walk through a forest or go on a little hike by myself and just, explore and do something new. And about a year ago, it's nearly impossible now. About a year ago, it became almost nearly impossible for me to walk more than a mile. At this present moment, I cannot walk more than a mile without an excruciating pain. And that is, that, the weight, the PCOS symptoms, all of these things combined in a nice, pretty package that's been tied with a bow is what has pushed me to get this weight loss surgery. So for reference, I'm 5'8". I'm currently at 245. I'm not looking my best today, so I'm not going to stand up and give you the full picture. Maybe in my next video. At my heaviest earlier this year, I was 280. It's the heaviest in my entire life. And for me, it was heartbreaking. I went into a deep depression, which is something that I've struggled with. And for those of us with chronic health issues, it's hard. It plays heavy on our mental and emotional health. It is a daily struggle. I work every day to deal with everything that's going on in here because of everything that's going on in here. And I have had to make myself the prize at the end. My own health, living a pain-free life, being able to walk 6 miles again, taking a vacation. One of my bucket lists is to travel through Greece. I can't walk through Greece if I can't walk, if I'm in pain. I want to do these things, and that is what has pushed me to make this decision. And let me tell you, getting weight loss surgery, getting the sleeve has not been an easy decision. It's one that I didn't take lightly. For those of you that don't know, the vertical gastrectomy or the gastric sleeve is when they remove up to 80% of your stomach and you're left with what looks like a little sleeve. And that's why it's called the gastric sleeve. Now, there are certain qualifications. You have to get it. You have to be your BMI has to be either above 40, or if it's like, I think it depends. Everybody's insurance is a bit different, but I believe if it's like 35 to 39, you have to have like certain health issues like PCOS, pre-diabetes, high blood pressure. Like there's a list. And then you have to, there's a whole process to get approved. Everybody's insurance is different. My particular insurance, my process was 3 months, but I have heard I have seen women who have had to do it for 6 months and have had to do the process for a year. So everyone is different. It is all dependent on your insurance and what their protocol is for getting approved. When I went to see the doctor, I was 270. When was this? August. I was 265. So I had lost 15 pounds of my own then. And my surgeon is great. The hospital that I'm going to is great, and he made me feel so comfortable, and he listened to all of my questions. And I walked in like, I'm just gonna go to this consult and see what he has to say. And at the end, he's like, well, what do you want to do? And I was like, you know what, let's do this. I'm gonna jump. I'm going to leap. And I left there that day, and I'm like, oh my God, what did I just sign up for? They come to you with a list of all the requirements, and some of the requirements are you have to meet with, for my insurance, you have to meet with, I met with an exercise coach a few times. I've had several appointments with a nutritionist. You have to go through a psychological evaluation, and you have to quit a lot of things. No extracurricular vices. All of that has to stop because your body will not heal properly after the surgery. And you have to get tons of blood work, tons of tests, a CAT scan, an ultrasound, an EKG. I have had my blood taken like 3 times already because they need to make sure your levels are where they need to be. And I have one more bout of labs in about 2 weeks, and that will be my pre-op labs right before I see my doctor to make sure that my A1C, my liver, and my kidney values are all where they need to be. So it's a process. And throughout the process, I just did the things, and I didn't really, something never really clicked that, this is all leading to surgery. Like I knew, but I didn't know. And throughout the whole time, I was doing my research. I was watching the videos. I was reading. I was, downloading books. Like I have gotten my hands on any and all information that will help me get through this. And then I got the call that I was approved. And they're like, so, December 28th, how's that work for you? And from that moment on, I will tell you, my anxiety has been at a 10. Because it's real now. Now it's like, wow, okay, this is really happening. And for those of you that are looking into doing it or have done it, it is not a process to take lightly because my body is about to go through some stuff. That healing process, yeah, all makes me a little bit nervous. So I will be going to my pre-op in about 2 weeks. And then I think December 13th, I have to start an all liquid diet. Nothing but protein shakes, clear broth. I can have sugar-free Jello, and protein shakes are just water and powder, which, ew. And I think I can have like sugar-free icicles, and all the water and plain tea, decaffeinated tea. That's another thing. You have to give up caffeine for a certain amount of time. And I will be doing the liquid diet for 2 weeks prior to surgery. And the reason they have you do that is because of your liver. Your liver is right in front of your stomach, and the surgeon has to go around it to get to your stomach. So if it's too big, he can't. It makes the surgery more difficult. And the surgery is laparoscopic, which means they don't cut you open. But if he can't get around your liver, then either he's going to decide to just cut you open or cancel the surgery. Neither one we want here. So we're going to do the diet as much as it's going to suck, and I'm going to do it here with you. So if I got to do it, you guys got to do it. Okay? Hold on one second. I think my battery's about to die. But you know what? We're coming to an end because I did not expect this video to be so long. So if you have stood here throughout the whole thing, excuse me with my stutter, that's me being a little bit nervous. I'm going to work on that for you. But if you have sat through this whole thing, thank you. I appreciate you listening to me. Yeah, and I hope you will be here next time. Hit subscribe so that you can chat again. I will be back maybe next week with some updates. I may wait until I get to pre-op because not much is really going to happen in the next week or two. It's just going to be, blood work and some tests. But I believe either right before or right after, I have to look at my calendar, I will start the diet. So I'm actually going to be buying all the things over the next week or two. So I will come back and share with you everything that I have bought for prep and share with you my pre-op, and we'll take it from there. And if there is anything you want to ask me, nothing is off the table. I have no problem sharing all the TMI details of dealing with PCOS or dealing with the surgery or anything, whether it's about your hair falling out or what it's like dealing with your period in your 40s with PCOS. I don't care. But yes, thank you for joining me, and I'll see you soon. Ciao.